Hello, it's Phillip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers, and this morning I'm looking at an old favourite. It is the Tolley LexisNexis yellow book. It's called the Yellow Tax Handbook. You can see one of the versions there. There are in fact 5 specific volumes to this work. Let me start off with part 1A, because part 1 is in 3 parts, 1A, 1B and 1C. This is 1A here. There's the spine and there's the back bit. This has all been written by and pulled together by consultant editor Anne Redston, who is obviously well known to many people. There is the shaded area, which means that you can find things quite quickly. The first part deals specifically with income tax and corporation tax, to name just a few, plus CGT. The Finance Acts are various pieces of legislation are mentioned in one of the sections. Then you've got Capital Allowances Act. So you've got a lot of legislation here. Then you've got towards the back of the first part the one of the more important areas, which is, I'm just going to get to the front of it. You've got to be careful with the pages. This is Income Tax, Earnings and Pensions Act. There. You've got to be very careful because these books are very heavy. They're paperback. The paper is resilient, but it is actually quite thin. And what you've got towards the back of the book is it gives an indication of exactly how many pages there are. And what you have here, you can see how thin the pages are. It gives you an idea of how massive the book is. This is nearly 3,500 pages long. There is no index, I hasten to add, for this. Now, one of the things as a tip, there's the actual front page. One of the tips about this is to read the publisher's note at the beginning, because what you do have is you've got a preface, and that's Anne's preface, which sets out what she's intending to do with this huge number of volumes, and she's explaining where we have specifically in this volume the Finance Act 2014 as direct relevance. Then you've got the publisher's note. Now that's very important because it sets out how the 5 volumes are organised, and it also tells you about changes and all the other things that are taking place. You can probably see those there, and then you launch into various points. The meaning of the tax act, that's actually quite helpful. You look at that little tree, family tree of taxes, if you like. Gives you an idea of what it's all about and where they all come in. Then you've got a very substantial contents section which goes through and sets out in quite a lot of detail what's in it. There's a lot of that. Then again, you've got a very useful abbreviations element. That is part 1A. Part 1B is also dealing specifically with income tax, corporation tax and so on. It's a continuation. Again, you've got the same stuff. You've got the same blurb on the back as well, and the contents in the middle. You see there's always the standard paragraph numbering for the sections, and the links with any amendments that have come in and any changes that take place. This is the heart of the law, if you like, because this is where the law is. How you're expected to remember it is another matter. There we go. This is part C. Again, the same sort of blurb on the back again. And again, you've got a little bit thinner sections here. We're talking here about capital transfer tax. We're also looking at corporation tax as well. And you've got things like Scottish law comes into it as well. So it's not just England and Wales. And then you've got the various finance acts that are set out, schedules and various other things. And this, right at the end, you've got the Finance Act 2014. So that's part C. Then part 2, we're still talking about income tax, but again, it's slightly different. There's the blurb on the back. This is a very heavy volume, this one. This runs to something like nearly 3,700 pages. There is a big index for part 2, which gives you a lot of information. Some of the indexes, there aren't indexes for there is in fact an index for Part 1C, and there is also an index, let's just check. I don't think there is one for no, there isn't one for Part B, but for Part 1C you will find the main index for the first part. Likewise for Part 2 you've got the same thing. The index is actually at the back, and I'm trying to show you how to use this because I'm hoping this will be of some help to people so you can look reasonably quickly at where things are. That's the main index, and then what you've got right at the front here is the a whole range of different pieces of legislation and regulations, and again you've got the standard front piece there. And the final section is Part 3, inheritance tax. Again, you've got the blurb on the back explaining Part 3. This also deals with national insurance contributions, tax credits, petroleum revenue tax and so on. You'll see sort of shaded areas again, and you've got various bits and pieces. I'm not going to labour the point here with a lot of the stuff, but there is quite a large amount of information which you can get from this, and you can see again the pages are quite delicate. You've got to be a little bit careful because they do tear if you're not careful, but there's a lot of information, lots of tables again which you've got before, and you do have of course again the front bit there, and then you've got in addition a repeat of the publisher's note each time, which sets up in this version specifically about key dates with the Finance Act 2014. Now that's a run round what is a very hefty 5-volume set, which means that you've got some idea of basically how heavy it is and what it contains. Now my wife Elizabeth and I have written a review of this book for, it's the 55th edition of the Yellow Tax Handbook for 2014 to 15, and we've given it the title Indispensable for Practitioners. Tolley's Yellow Tax Handbook for 2014 to 15 is out now, and it has a focus on tax avoidance, which you probably will have heard in the recent party conference speeches. I'm recording this at the end of the party conference season, beginning of October 2014. So we're looking now towards the general election, and we've had all the main legislation, and we know where the government's going to, and obviously tax avoidance is very much a theme of the Yellow Handbook this year. Now in its 55th edition, Tolley's Yellow Tax Handbook comes in 5 volumes, as I say, and without doubt remains the definitive and complex, rather complete, it is complex, complete guide to all UK tax. So if you're a practitioner involved professionally in any matters relating to UK tax, you'll need these indispensable volumes, particularly this year, in which the spotlight, as I say, has focused on one issue in particular, which is tax avoidance. It's in the press a lot, and it's something that the government wants to, they want to get the revenue in, which is part and parcel of the job. If you have taxation, you've got to make sure people pay what is due, but not, as I say, this is not evasion or avoidance in that sense. It is making sure that people pay what is owed, not effectively evading, because there is that real line between the two. Evading, of course, being the criminal matter, avoidance being more of a sort of guilt matter for people who are putting money into certain funds, specifically trying to stop the revenue getting hold of their cash. Now obviously that's a big issue, and it is covered in some detail in some of the comments that are made in the 5 volumes. This volume, of course, the 5 volumes, are published annually by LexisNexis, and it's a massive multi-volume work, as you can see, of reference containing all the main tax legislation which is currently in force, and it's in one place. It incorporates the changes wrought by the Finance Act 2014, as well as statutory instruments and other relevant and vital material, including statements of practice and published official interpretations. This and other new material will help keep practitioners abreast of the developments that have occurred since the last edition came out, with the provisions cross-reference for maximum case law usage. And ease of usage, generally speaking, so that you've got the statutes here, and then you can link into the cases that you might be using if you're arguing. That's of course if you're a lawyer. Now, as the consultant editor Anne Redston points out, the emphasis this year is on tax avoidance and the, quote, radical collection of measures contained in the Finance Act 2014, which changes the tax planning landscape. That's, I think, what Mr. Osborne, as Chancellor of the Exchequer, has in mind, and also Parliament, of course. You have therefore been warned. Professor Redston's preface, which is well worth reading, and I indicated that to you, makes a succinct statement about the impact of the new rules, which, as she explains, are designed to squeeze cash out of avoidance schemes. And that's really what Osborne and Co have been talking about on the party conference platforms. The new accelerated payment notice, that's the APN, rules are mentioned also, together with the fact that there is no freestanding right of appeal against an APN. Then there are the follower notices, which ultimately work in tandem with APNs, adds Professor Redston, to remove the cash flow advantage currently enjoyed by most direct tax planning. Now, I'm sure you can see, both as an accountant and as a lawyer, that the clients are not going to be too happy about this, because cash flow is always very crucial, sometimes to the existence and continued existence of an organisation. So you've got to bear in mind what the government are doing. Remember that it is not the government's intention, at least I take it it's not the government's intention, to completely screw business down, because if they do that, obviously it affects the economy. So you can see there has to be that balance. Now, this book has been endorsed by the Chartered Institute of Taxation. There is the little logo which is on the side, you can see it there, which means that this is the ultimate statement of the law, basically, and where we are today with what we've got. As I say, the handbook covers in parts 1A, B and C, that's the first 3 volumes, the UK statutes relating to income tax, corporation tax and capital gains tax, up to and including the Finance Act 2014. Part 2, which is this one here, very heavy again, includes statutory instruments, EC legislation, concessions, statements of practice, official interpretations and decisions, selected press releases and miscellaneous materials. There's a lot involved here. Inheritance tax, national insurance contributions, tax credits and petroleum revenue tax are in volume 3, which is there, sitting up there, along with the destination tables for consolidation statutes. Now, together with the Orange Handbook, which we reviewed separately, also published by Tolley, this yellow tax handbook provides the most indispensable, reliable and up-to-date position on tax now available to practitioners and advisors. Those needing to pursue the subject matter in depth will appreciate the meticulous annotations and cross-references to HMRC's manuals, which are published online, and other authoritative tax revenue sources. The information presented in this edition is at the 17th of July 2014, and it's also very helpful to see the publisher's note at the front. I mentioned that right at the beginning. Let me just very briefly show you that again. The publisher's, there's the preface there, which Professor Redston has produced. Then you have the actual publisher's note, which is there, and that is very important to read because it gives you an idea of where we are. You can see what a horrendous amount of material is here. You see the way in which everything is growing, and it's very, very detailed, but it sets out the tax regime as it currently stands. Thank you to all concerned, Tolley and Lexis, for continuing to publish these books. They are of great help to us in trying to deal with what is an emotional issue. It's a difficult issue. People don't like paying tax, obviously, but it is a way through this myriad of real heavy detail. So thank you for making it as simple as you can in all the circumstances. Thank you. Bye-bye.